98% of you are not subscribed. Enter and subscribe because at the amount of 1,000 subscribers, I will post a very special video for you.
In the heart of the Milky Way, where the stars shimmered like scattered diamonds on a velvet cloth, there was a planet known as Centauri Prime. This planet was renowned for its technological advancements and its diverse population of aliens from all corners of the galaxy. Among these inhabitants was an eccentric human named Dr. Samuel Carter, an archaeologist with a penchant for ancient Earth artifacts. Dr. Carter was a tall, lanky man with graying hair and a pair of glasses that seemed perpetually smudged. His passion for Earth's history had led him to Centauri Prime, where he had set up a modest museum filled with relics from humanity's past. The museum, tucked away in a quieter part of the bustling city of Nexus, was a haven for those curious about the bygone eras of a distant planet. One day, as Dr. Carter was meticulously dusting off a display case containing a 20th century typewriter, a group of aliens entered the museum. They were from the Zeltran Empire, a race known for their advanced weaponry and combat prowess. The leader of the group, Commander Zorak, was a towering figure with a muscular build and deep blue skin. His eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the room with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. "Welcome to the Earth History Museum," Dr. Carter greeted them with a warm smile. "Is there anything specific you're interested in?" Commander Zorak stepped forward, his eyes narrowing as he looked at Dr. Carter. "We have heard that you possess ancient human weapons. We are curious to see what primitive tools your kind use for warfare." Dr. Carter nodded, sensing the underlying challenge in Zorak's tone. "Indeed, we have several examples of ancient human weaponry. Please, follow me." He led the group to a section of the museum dedicated to military history. There, among the various exhibits, was a glass case containing a well-preserved M1911 pistol. The gun, a relic from the early 20th century, was a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of its time. "This," Dr. Carter said, gesturing to the pistol, "is a Colt M1911. It was widely used by American forces during both World Wars and beyond. A remarkable piece of engineering for its era." The Zeltrans leaned in, examining the gun with a mix of curiosity and amusement. One of them, a younger officer named Lieutenant Vexar, snorted derisively. "This is what you call a weapon? It looks like a child's toy compared to our blasters." Dr. Carter chuckled softly. "I understand it may seem primitive compared to your advanced technology, but this pistol was quite effective in its time." Commander Zorak's eyes glinted with amusement. "Effective, you say? Perhaps you can show us how this toy works?" Dr. Carter nodded, not at all perturbed by their skepticism. "Of course. We have a demonstration area in the back. Please follow me." The group moved to a small enclosed firing range behind the museum. Dr. Carter carefully removed the pistol from its case, checked it for safety, and loaded a magazine of .45 ACP rounds. He handed out ear protection to the Zeltrans, who donned them with bemused expressions. Dr. Carter took his place at the firing line, aimed at a paper target downrange, and squeezed the trigger. The M1911 barked with a sharp crack, the recoil pushing back against his hand. The bullet punched a clean hole through the center of the target. The Zeltrans watched with a mixture of surprise and grudging respect. The sound and impact of the bullet had been more impressive than they had anticipated. "Not bad for a primitive weapon," Commander Zorak admitted. "But how does it fare in actual combat?" Dr. Carter smiled, sensing an opportunity to share more about Earth's history. "The M1911 was renowned for its reliability and stopping power. It was used in countless battles and saved many lives, but its true value lies in its simplicity and effectiveness." Lieutenant Vexar stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with curiosity. "May I try?" Dr. Carter nodded, handing the pistol to Vexar and giving him a brief rundown on its operation. Vexar took his place at the firing line, mimicking Dr. Carter's stance. He aimed and fired, the gun's recoil surprising him but not deterring him. His shot hit the target, though not as accurately as Dr. Carter's. "Interesting," Vexar said, handing the pistol back. "It's not as advanced as our weapons, but I can see its appeal." Commander Zorak nodded thoughtfully. "It seems there is more to human ingenuity than meets the eye. Perhaps we have underestimated your kind." Dr. Carter smiled modestly. "Every technology has its time and place. The M-1911 served humanity well during a crucial period in our history." As the Zeltrans left the museum, Dr. Carter couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Despite their initial skepticism, they had gained a new appreciation for the ingenuity of human engineering. The encounter also reinforced his belief that even the most primitive tools could hold great value and significance. Later that evening, as Dr. Carter was closing up the museum, he received an unexpected visitor. A young human woman with short dark hair and a determined expression entered the building. She was dressed in a sleek black uniform that marked her as a member of the Terran Defense Force. "Dr. Carter?" she asked, her voice steady and authoritative. "Yes, that's me," Dr. Carter replied, looking at her with curiosity. "How can I help you?" The woman stepped forward, extending her hand. "Captain Elena Rodriguez, Terran Defense Force. I need your expertise." Dr. Carter shook her hand, intrigued. "What can I do for you, Captain?" Elena glanced around the museum, her eyes lingering on the various exhibits. "We've received reports of an ancient human weapon being used in a recent skirmish on the outer colonies. The description matches that of a World War II-era firearm. We believe it may have been stolen from a private collection." Dr. Carter raised an eyebrow. "A World War II-era firearm? That's quite unusual. Do you have any more details?" Elena nodded. "The weapon in question is a M1 Garand rifle. It was reportedly used to take down several attackers with remarkable precision. We need to track it down and understand how it ended up in hostile hands." Dr. Carter's curiosity was piqued. The M1 Garand was another iconic weapon from Earth's past, and the thought of it being used in modern combat was both fascinating and concerning. "I see. I'd be happy to help. Do you have any leads?" Elena handed him a datapad with information about the incident. "This is everything we have so far. We could use your expertise to analyze the weapon and trace its origins." Dr. Carter studied the datapad, nodding thoughtfully. "All right, Captain. I'll do what I can. Let's start by examining the details and see if we can find any clues." Over the next few days, Dr. Carter and Captain Rodriguez worked closely together, poring over the data and following every lead. They visited various private collectors and antique dealers, hoping to uncover the weapon's provenance. Their investigation led them to a wealthy arms dealer named Victor Kraus, known for his extensive collection of rare and historical firearms. Kraus was a shrewd businessman with a penchant for luxury. His estate, located on the outskirts of Nexus, was a fortress of opulence and security. Dr. Carter and Captain Rodriguez arrived at the gates, their credentials granting them entry. They were greeted by Kraus himself, a tall, impeccably dressed man with a sharp gaze. "Welcome to my humble abode," he said with a hint of irony. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" Captain Rodriguez stepped forward, her expression serious. "Mr. Kraus, we're investigating the recent use of an ancient human weapon in a skirmish on the outer colonies. We have reason to believe it may have come from your collection." Kraus's eyes narrowed slightly. "I assure you, all my acquisitions are legal and accounted for. But please come in. Let's discuss this further." He led them into a lavish sitting room where they took seats around a polished table. Kraus poured himself a glass of fine brandy, offering them drinks which they politely declined. Dr. Carter wasted no time. "Mr. Kraus, we're specifically looking for an M1 Garand rifle. Do you have one in your collection?" Kraus took a sip of his brandy, contemplating his answer. "Yes, I do have an M1 Garand. It's a prized piece, well preserved and in excellent condition. But it hasn't left my collection in years." Captain Rodriguez handed Kraus the datapad with the incident report. "According to our information, a weapon matching its description was used with deadly precision in a recent attack. We need to verify if it's still in your possession." Kraus nodded, setting his glass down. "Very well. Follow me." He led them through a series of secure corridors to a private vault. Inside, The walls were lined with display cases containing an impressive array of firearms from various eras. Kraus stopped in front of a case that housed the M1 Garand, its polished wood stock and gleaming metal parts a testament to its craftsmanship. "There it is," Kraus said, gesturing to the rifle. "As you can see, it hasn't been moved." Dr. Carter examined the rifle closely, noting its pristine condition. "It's indeed a beautiful piece, but we need to be certain. Would you mind if we conducted a forensic analysis to ensure it's the same weapon?" Kraus nodded, though his expression was one of mild annoyance. "If it helps clear up this matter, go ahead." Captain Rodriguez signaled for a forensic team to join them. They arrived promptly, setting up their equipment and carefully extracting the rifle from its case. The analysis was thorough, with the team checking for any signs of recent use or tampering. After what felt like hours, the lead forensic analyst approached them with the results. "This rifle hasn't been fired recently. It's not the weapon used in the attack." Dr. Carter and Captain Rodriguez exchanged glances, both relieved and puzzled. Kraus's expression softened. "I told you, my collection is secure." Captain Rodriguez nodded. "Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Kraus. We'll continue our investigation elsewhere." As they left Kraus's estate, Dr. Carter couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something. "If it's not Kraus's rifle, then where did the weapon come from?" Captain Rodriguez sighed. "That's what we need to find out. There must be other collectors or dealers who might have access to such a weapon." Their investigation continued, leading them to various corners of the galaxy. They encountered more collectors, each with their own stories and secrets. The trail was long and arduous, but Dr. Carter and Captain Rodriguez were determined to uncover the truth. One evening, as they were reviewing their findings, Dr. Carter had a sudden realization. What if the weapon wasn't sold or traded, but stolen? Captain Rodriguez considered this. It's possible, but from whom? Dr. Carter tapped a few commands into his data pad, bringing up a list of recent thefts and break-ins. "Let's cross-reference this with our list of known collectors. Maybe we'll find a match." After hours of searching, they found a lead. A wealthy collector named Elias Thorne had reported a break-in at his estate several months ago. Among the items stolen was an M1 Garand rifle. "Thorne's estate is on Arcturus 4, Captain Rodriguez said, reading the report. "We should pay him a visit." They set a course for Arcturus 4, their hopes renewed. Thorne's estate was a sprawling mansion surrounded by lush gardens. They were greeted by Thorne himself, a reclusive man with a stern demeanor. "What brings you here?" Thorne asked, his voice tinged with suspicion. Dr. Carter explained their mission and the connection to the stolen rifle. Thorne's eyes narrowed. "Yes, the rifle was stolen from my collection. It was a devastating loss." Captain Rodriguez nodded. "We believe it may have been used in a recent attack on the outer colonies. We need your help to track down the thieves and recover the weapon." Thorne considered this for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. I'll give you access to my security footage and records. If it helps bring the thieves to justice, I'm willing to cooperate." As they reviewed the security footage from the night of the break-in, they noticed a group of masked intruders expertly bypassing Thorne's security systems. Their movements were swift and coordinated, suggesting a well-trained team. "These aren't ordinary thieves," Captain Rodriguez observed. "They're professionals." Dr. Carter nodded. "Which means they were hired for a specific purpose. We need to find out who hired them and why." Their investigation led them deeper into the criminal underworld of the galaxy. They encountered smugglers, mercenaries, and black market dealers, each with their own piece of the puzzle. The trail eventually led them to a notorious arms dealer named Varric, known for supplying weapons to various factions and criminal organizations. Varric operated from a hidden base on a remote moon, surrounded by a small army of loyal henchmen. Dr. Carter and Captain Rodriguez knew that confronting him directly would be dangerous, but they had no choice. With the help of the Terran Defense Force, they planned a covert operation to infiltrate Varric's base. The mission was risky, but their determination to recover the stolen weapon and prevent further violence drove them forward. As they infiltrated the base, they encountered heavy resistance. Varric's men were well armed and prepared for a fight, Dr. Carter and Captain Rodriguez led their team with precision and courage, determined to see the mission through. Finally, they reached Varick's inner sanctum, where the arms dealer awaited them with a smug grin. "You must be the ones causing all this trouble," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward, her weapon trained on Varick. "We're here for the M1 Garand rifle. Where is it?" Varick laughed. "Ah, the antique. I sold it to a collector on the outer colonies. Paid a hefty price for it, too." Dr. Carter's heart sank. "Who did you sell it to?" Varick's eyes glinted with malice. "I don't remember names, just faces and credits." Captain Rodriguez's patience wore thin. "You're going to tell us everything or this ends badly for you." Varick smirked. "Do your worst. I have nothing to lose." As the tension in the room reached its peak, Dr. Carter had an idea. "Wait, Varick, you pride yourself on knowing the value of rare weapons, right?" Varick's interest was piqued. "Of course. I'm an expert." Dr. Carter stepped forward, his voice calm and measured. "Then you know that the M1 Garand is more than just an antique. It's a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. It deserves to be in the hands of someone who respects its history." Varick's smirk faltered. "And what are you suggesting?" Dr. Carter took a deep breath. "Help us recover the rifle and we'll ensure it's preserved and honored. You can be part of that legacy." The room fell silent as Varick considered the offer. Finally, he nodded. "All right. I sold the rifle to a man named Galen Rook. He's a collector on Terrace 5. Captain Rodriguez lowered her weapon. "Thank you, Varick. You've made the right choice." As they left Varick's base, Dr. Carter couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. They were one step closer to recovering the M1 Garand and preventing further violence. The journey had been long and difficult, but their determination and teamwork had brought them this far. Their next destination was Terrace 5, where they hoped to find Galen Rook and the stolen rifle. The adventure was far from over, but with each step they grew closer to their goal. And as they ventured into the unknown, they carried with them the hope of a better future and the resilience of the human spirit. Dr. Carter and Captain Rodriguez set a course for Terrace 5, their spirits buoyed by the new lead. The journey through hyperspace gave them time to plan their approach and review what they knew about Galen Rook. Terrace 5 was a bustling trade hub, a melting pot of species and cultures where anything and anyone could be found if you knew where to look. "Galen Rook is a well-known collector," Captain Rodriguez said, her eyes scanning the data on her pad. "He has a reputation for acquiring rare and valuable items, often through less than legal means." Dr. Carter nodded, leaning back in his chair. "If Rook has the M1 Garand, we'll need to be cautious. He won't give it up easily." As they approached Terrace 5, the planet's sprawling cities and vast marketplaces came into view. They docked at a busy spaceport and disembarked, blending into the throngs of traders, travelers, and locals. The air was filled with the hum of conversation and the scent of exotic foods. Their first stop was a well-known information broker, Jax Varick, who operated out of a small, dimly lit shop in the heart of the city. Jax was a slender, shifty-eyed alien with a knack for finding out anything about anyone, for a price. "Dr. Carter, Captain Rodriguez." Jax greeted them with a sly smile as they entered his shop. "What brings you to my humble establishment?" "We're looking for Galen Rook," Captain Rodriguez said, cutting straight to the point. "We have reason to believe he has an item that belongs to us." Jax's eyes gleamed with interest. "Rook, eh? He's not an easy man to find. But for the right price, I can tell you where he likes to conduct his business." Dr. Carter reached into his bag and produced a small pouch of credits, placing it on the counter. "Will this be enough?" Jax weighed the pouch in his hand, nodding with satisfaction. "That'll do. Rook frequents a private club on the east side of the city. It's called the Serpent's Den. You'll find him there most evenings, conducting his deals." Captain Rodriguez nodded. "Thank you, Jax. You've been very helpful." As they left the shop, Dr. Carter couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. "We need to be careful, Elena. If Rook is as dangerous as they say, this could get messy." Captain Rodriguez's eyes were steely with determination. "We'll be ready. Let's head to the Serpent's Den and see if we can track him down." The Serpent's Den was a high-end establishment, known for its exclusivity and opulence. As they approached, they could hear the muted sounds of music and conversation drifting from within. The entrance was guarded by two imposing bouncers who eyed them suspiciously as they approached. "We're here to see Galen Rook," Captain Rodriguez said, her tone firm and authoritative. The bouncers exchanged a glance before nodding. "He's expecting you. Follow me." They were led through the club's lavish interior, past tables of well-dressed patrons and luxurious decor. Finally, they were brought to a private room at the back of the club, where Galen Rook sat surrounded by several of his associates. Rook was a middle-aged man with sharp features and an air of authority. He looked up as they entered, a smile playing on his lips. "Ah, visitors. How intriguing," Rook said, motioning for them to sit. "What can I do for you?" Dr. Carter took a seat, meeting Rook's gaze evenly. "We're here about a weapon, an M1 Garand rifle that was recently used in an attack. We believe it was stolen from its rightful owner and sold to you." Rook's smile widened. "Ah, the Garand. A beautiful piece indeed. But I'm afraid I don't have it anymore. It was acquired by a new buyer." Captain Rodriguez leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Who bought it, Rook? We need that weapon." Rook chuckled, a low, dangerous sound. "Information like that comes at a high price. What are you willing to offer?" Before they could respond, the room's atmosphere shifted. Rook's associates moved subtly, their hands drifting towards hidden weapons. Dr. Carter felt a chill run down his spine. This was a setup. "We're not here to play games, Rook," Captain Rodriguez said, her voice cold. "Either you tell us what we need to know, or we make you." Rook's eyes darkened. "I don't take kindly to threats, Captain. If you want to leave here in one piece, I suggest you rethink your approach." As tensions rose, Dr. Carter decided to change tactics. "Mr. Rook, we're not your enemies. We're here to stop a dangerous weapon from causing more harm. Work with us, and we can make it worth your while." Rook studied them for a moment, weighing his options. Finally, he nodded. "Very well. The buyer is a mercenary named Darius Core. He operates out of a base on Epsilon the 9. He's a dangerous man, but if you're determined to retrieve the Garand, that's where you'll find him." Captain Rodriguez stood, her expression unreadable. "Thank you, Rook. You've been helpful." As they left the Serpent's Den, Dr. Carter couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. "Epsilon 9th is a lawless place. This won't be easy." Captain Rodriguez nodded. "We don't have a choice. We need to stop Core before he can use the Garand for more violence." They returned to their ship and set a course for Epsilon 9. The journey through hyperspace was tense, each of them lost in their thoughts. Dr. Carter reviewed the information they had on Darius Core, a notorious mercenary known for his ruthlessness and tactical prowess. When they arrived at Epsilon 9, the planet's desolate landscape and crumbling infrastructure greeted them. The once thriving mining colony had fallen into disrepair, now home to scavengers and outlaws. They landed on the outskirts of a makeshift settlement, careful to avoid drawing attention. "Stay alert," Captain Rodriguez warned as they disembarked. "Core's men will be watching for intruders." They made their way through the settlement, keeping to the shadows. The air was thick with tension, the streets filled with rough-looking individuals and makeshift fortifications. They approached a rundown building that served as Core's base of operations, its entrance guarded by heavily armed mercenaries. "We need a distraction," Dr. Carter whispered, his mind racing. "Something to draw them away from the entrance." Captain Rodriguez nodded, her eyes scanning the area. "Leave that to me. Be ready to move when the opportunity arises." She moved swiftly, disappearing into the crowd. Moments later, a series of explosions rocked the settlement, sending people running in panic. The guards at the entrance scrambled to respond, leaving their posts unguarded. "Let's go," Dr. Carter urged, leading the way. They slipped inside the building, moving quickly and quietly. The interior was a maze of corridors and rooms, each filled with crates of weapons and supplies. They encountered several of Core's men, dispatching them swiftly and efficiently. Finally, they reached a large room at the heart of the building, where Darius Core awaited them. He was a formidable figure, tall and muscular, with a cold, calculating gaze. The M1 Garand rifle was slung across his back. "You must be the ones causing all this trouble," Kor said, his voice low and dangerous. "What do you want?" Dr. Carter stepped forward, his eyes locked on the rifle. "We're here for the Garand. It belongs in a museum, not in the hands of a mercenary." Kor's eyes gleamed with amusement. "A museum? This rifle is a masterpiece of engineering. It's meant to be used, not displayed." Captain Rodriguez drew her weapon, her stance unwavering. "We're not here to debate. Hand over the rifle, or we'll take it by force." Kor laughed, a harsh, mirthless sound. "You're welcome to try." With that, the room erupted into chaos. Kor's men charged at them, weapons drawn. Dr. Carter and Captain Rodriguez fought back with everything they had, their training and determination pushing them forward. The battle was intense, each moment a blur of action and adrenaline. As they fought their way towards Kor, Dr. Carter's mind raced. They needed to end this quickly. He spotted a stack of crates near the back of the room and had an idea. "Elena, cover me," he shouted, making a dash for the crates. Captain Rodriguez provided covering fire, holding off their attackers as Dr. Carter reached the crates. He climbed up and leaped towards Kor, tackling him to the ground. The two men grappled for control of the rifle, each fighting with desperation. Finally, Dr. Carter managed to wrest the Garand from Kor's grasp. He aimed it at the mercenary, his hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "It's over, Kor," Dr. Carter said, his voice firm. "Call off your men." Kor glared at him, but seeing the determination in Dr. Carter's eyes, he relented. "Stand down," he ordered his men. "It's over." The room fell silent as the mercenaries lowered their weapons. Captain Rodriguez approached, her expression hard. "Thank you for your cooperation, Kor. We'll be taking the rifle now." As they left the building, Dr. Carter couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. They had recovered the M1 Garand and prevented it from causing further harm. The journey had been long and perilous, but their determination had seen them through. Back on their ship, Dr. Carter carefully placed the rifle in a secure case. "This belongs in a museum where it can be appreciated and preserved." Captain Rodriguez nodded. "You did good, Sam. We couldn't have done it without you." Dr. Carter smiled, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment. It was a team effort. We made a difference. As they set a course back to Centauri Prime, Dr. Carter couldn't help but reflect on the journey. They had faced incredible challenges and uncovered hidden truths, but most importantly, they had proven that even the most ancient relics could hold great power and significance. Their adventure was far from over, but with each step they grew stronger and more determined. And as they ventured into the unknown, they carried with them the hope of a better future and the resilience of the human spirit. And so, the story continued, with new challenges and discoveries awaiting them. But for now, they could take solace in their victory, knowing that they had made a difference in the galaxy. The return journey to Centauri Prime was filled with a mixture of relief and anticipation. Dr. Carter and Captain Rodriguez had successfully retrieved the M1 Garand, but they knew their mission wasn't over. The weapon had to be secured, and the individuals behind its theft brought to justice. As they docked at Centauri Prime, they were greeted by a welcoming committee of Terran Defense Force officers. Among them was Admiral Thorne, a stern but fair leader with a deep respect for Earth's history and a personal stake in the mission's success. "Welcome back," Admiral Thorne said, shaking their hands. "You've done a commendable job." "Thank you, Admiral," Captain Rodriguez replied. "We have the rifle, but there are still questions that need answers." Admiral Thorne nodded, his expression serious. "Indeed. Let's get this weapon secured and then debrief. There's much to discuss." The M1 Garand was placed in a high-security vault within the Terran Defense Force headquarters, its significance acknowledged by all who saw it. Dr. Carter felt a sense of closure, knowing the weapon was safe and would be preserved for future generations to learn from and appreciate. In the debriefing room, Dr. Carter and Captain Rodriguez recounted their journey, detailing every encounter and lead they followed. Admiral Thorne listened intently, his eyes occasionally flicking to the rifle now displayed behind a thick pane of bulletproof glass. "We need to dismantle the network that allowed this weapon to be stolen and used in the first place," Captain Rodriguez said firmly. "Varick's involvement suggests a larger black market operation at play." Admiral Thorne agreed. "We'll launch a full-scale investigation into Varick and his associates. But we also need to ensure the security of other historical artifacts. This incident has highlighted vulnerabilities we can no longer ignore." Dr. Carter leaned forward. "I propose a joint task force between the Terran Defense Force and historical societies. We need to track and secure these artifacts, preventing them from falling into the wrong hands." The Admiral considered this a sound idea. "We'll allocate resources and personnel to this task force immediately. Your expertise, Dr. Carter, will be invaluable." As plans were set into motion, a new sense of purpose filled the room. They were not just reacting to a crisis, but proactively working to prevent future ones. The task force would ensure that humanity's history was preserved and protected, a legacy for all to learn from. Several weeks later, Dr. Carter found himself back at the Earth History Museum on Centauri Prime. The museum had undergone significant upgrades, with enhanced security measures and new exhibits detailing the recent mission's events. The M1 Garand was now the centerpiece, its story a testament to the enduring spirit and ingenuity of humanity. One afternoon, as Dr. Carter was giving a tour to a group of schoolchildren, he was approached by Captain Rodriguez. She was out of uniform, her demeanor more relaxed but still carrying the air of authority and determination that defined her. "Captain, what a pleasant surprise," Dr. Carter greeted her warmly. "To what do I owe the visit?" Elena smiled. "I thought I'd check in and see how things are going. Plus, I wanted to thank you personally for your part in the mission." Dr. Carter chuckled. "It was a team effort. We couldn't have done it without your leadership." As they walked through the museum, they discussed the progress of the task force. Already several stolen artifacts had been recovered, and Varick's black market network was being dismantled piece by piece. The cooperation between the Terran Defense Force and historical societies had proven effective, a model for future endeavors. "It's been quite the journey," Elena said, pausing in front of the M1 Garand display. "Who knew an old rifle could cause so much trouble and bring about so much change?" Dr. Carter nodded, his eyes reflecting the weight of their shared experiences. "History has a way of surprising us. It's not just about the past, it's about the lessons we carry forward." Elena turned to face him, her expression thoughtful. "Speaking of the future, the task force could use someone with your expertise on a more permanent basis. How would you feel about joining us officially?" Dr. Carter was taken aback but pleasantly surprised. "I appreciate the offer, Elena. It would be an honor to continue this work and ensure our history is protected." As they shook hands, sealing the beginning of a new chapter in their professional relationship, Dr. Carter felt a renewed sense of purpose. The mission had brought them together, and now they would continue to work side by side, preserving and protecting humanity's legacy. Back in his office, Dr. Carter reflected on the journey that had brought him here. The adventure had been filled with danger and uncertainty, but it had also forged new alliances and strengthened his resolve. The M1 Garand, once a symbol of war, now represented hope and resilience, a reminder that even the most ancient relics could hold profound significance. As he prepared for his new role with the task force, Dr. Carter knew there would be many more challenges ahead. But with the support of the Terran Defense Force and dedicated individuals like Captain Rodriguez, he was confident they could face whatever the future held. And so, with a sense of anticipation and determination, Dr. Carter looked forward to the next adventure, knowing that together they could make a difference. The past was a treasure trove of lessons, and the future was theirs to shape, a journey of discovery, protection, and hope. Thus ended the story of the ancient human gun that had once been laughed at by aliens, only to earn their respect and admiration. It was a tale of ingenuity and resilience, a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity that would continue to inspire generations to come.